Good afternoon, all of you. Good afternoon. Am I audible? Am I audible? Just give me a reply, a thumbs up if I'm audible. Okay, yes. Thanks for the confirmation. Now, the poetry that, okay, fine. Now, we'll do one thing. I'll be explaining the poetry. And then once I finish, you all can text your doubts. And the name of the poem that we will be discussing today is On Killing a Tree. And my earnest request to all of you is not to text anything which is not relevant to what we are discussing today. Kindly refrain yourself from texting anything which is not relevant to the chapter that we are doing today. You can text your doubts. In case whenever I ask a question, you can write down your answers as well. Besides that, refrain texting anything which is not relevant. Okay. So a very good afternoon to all of you. The poetry or the poem that we have or we will be discussing today is On Killing a Tree. I hope my voice is clear to all. Right. I've already got some thumbs up from all of you, right? From some of you. Yes. Yes. Thanks for the confirmation once again. Yes. On Killing a Tree. That is what we are going to discuss today. Now, this is a very sensitive poetry written by Jeev Patel. He's an Indian writer. And in this poetry, he took up a very sensitive, yet a very, I can say, talked topic. That is the way we cut trees. The way we are into deforestation without thinking much about our surrounding. We are killing trees, and here the poet has compared a tree as a human being. So when we cut a tree, we are not just chopping it off, but we are taking away a life. It's similar to a human being. When you kill a human being, the way you take away life from him, it takes a lot of pain to kill a human being. When a person dies, undergoes a lot of pain. The same thing happens with a tree. So here the poetry is on imagery, where the poet is imagining that a tree is no less than a human being, and cutting a tree is not as that simple, just cutting it or chopping it off. It means you are taking away or drawing out life from something which is living being. Trees are also living beings, and they are very important to our surrounding. Everybody knows that. Coming to the poetry, it takes much time to kill a tree. Not a simple jab of the knife. It takes a lot of time to kill a tree. It's not that you take your weapon and you just chop it off. It's not like that. Not a simple jab. Jab means a quick, forceful hit. I am going very slow. If you want, you can jot down the meanings. Jab means a quick, forceful hit. You quickly hit something with a lot of force is called jab. So not a simple jab of the knife. It's not that you take a knife and you just hit it. No, it's not that. It takes much time to kill a tree. simple jab of the knife will do it. It has grown slowly, consuming the earth. Now, when a tree grows, it's not one day or it's not just a month's time. It takes a lot of time to slowly consume all the all the nutrients from the earth and grow. So, it has grown slowly, consuming the earth, rising out of it. Rising out of the earth. You sow the seed, then the seed takes all the nutrients, and then gradually it grows out of the seed. It comes out of the earth. Rising out of it. It here is earth. Rising out of the earth. Feeding upon its crest. Feeding upon the layer of the earth. That's the soil. The tree feeds upon the soil, takes all the nutrients from the soil. So feeding upon its crest, absorbing years of sunlight. And it absorbs years of sunlight, air, water. So here the purpose of the poet is to emphasize how much effort, how much time, and a lot of, as we can see, a lot of nutrients. So much is needed to grow a tree. And what do we human beings do? We just chop it off without giving a second thought. Why? Because we are greedy. And of its leprous hide sprouting leaves. Now over here, leprous hide. Now leprous can have two different meanings. One is the skin of a leopard that has got patchy skin. Right? A leopard has a patchy skin. So here leprous can emphasize or say about discolored, something which is discolored, not in proper color. So a leprous hide. So now it comes out of its leprous hide. The seed, the life is inside the seed, and the seed is inside under the earth. Now the leprous, from that leprous hide, the tree or the sapling comes out, and gradually it emerges into a huge tree. Sprouting leaves. Sprouting means small leaves coming out. That is sprouting leaves. Another meaning of leprous is it can be from the disease leprosy. Now, when a person suffers from that, becomes very weak, right? So leprous hide means when the plant is hidden, maybe the plant, it is not that strong enough, but then it draws all nutrients and it gains strength and comes out and emerges as a big tree. So that is what mentioned in the first stanza. I'll just repeat it once again. Anywhere, any doubt in the first stanza, you can just drop your questions. It takes much time to kill a tree. Not a simple jab of the knife will do it. It has grown, slowly consuming the earth, rising out of it, feeding upon its crest, absorbing years of sunlight, air, water, and out of its leprous hides, sprouting leaves. And out of its leprous hides, the plant comes out and it grows, the leaf sprouts. Sprout means the tiny newborn leaves that you can see. When a sapling grows, comes out of the seed and tries to grow. Right. So shall we move to the next stanza? So hack and chop. Now here hack means to cut into pieces in a rough and violent way. When you hack something means you cut something in a rough and violent way. As what you do with the vegetables, you cut them, chop them, right? So you do it in a rough and a violent way. You chop it or you hack it. But this alone won't do it. But only hacking and chopping, taking a knife or taking your equipment and just hacking and chopping is not going to take away the life from the tree. Not so much pain will do it. It is not going to do so much of pain. The bleeding bark will heal. Bleeding bark will heal. Now see here, bleeding bark. Now over here, this a very important line over here. I'll come to you, Pushpak, your doubt. Now, a very important line over here, bleeding bark. You can underline that. Here, by saying bleeding bark, the poet is trying to say that even trees, they have life. The way human beings, when we are hurt, we start bleeding. In the same way, when you jab or when you hit a tree, it also starts bleeding. Bark, you can understand the outer hard cover of the tree. So the bark bleeds. When you chop it, the bark bleeds. So here the poet, you can mark over here, this line has got three different poetic devices. The first one is personification. You all can note it down. The first one is personification, because here, by saying bleeding bark, who bleeds? We bleed, human beings. Who bleeds? Animals bleed when they are hurt. But here, the poet is putting the same attribute into the tree. So it is personification. Second is, it is alliteration because of BB, bleeding bark, b. Repetition of consonant sound in the beginning of the word. So it is alliteration. And it is also a metaphor because the bark is described or compared as, or the tree is compared as bleeding bark. So there are three poetic devices over here. Now the bleeding bark, when you chop it, when you hack it, now that bleeding bark will gradually heal. It will gradually heal. Now what happens to us when we are hurt? It heals up. Gradually the injury it gets healed. In the same way, a simple jab will just bleed it and then it will heal. And from close to the ground will rise curled green twigs. And then the place where you chop the tree, right from there, close to the ground, again green twigs will come out. You might have seen sometimes when you chop a tree, maybe not completely pull it out, just chop it, you find the place where you have chopped it, from there again leaves and twigs coming out. So it is just that same. So once you chop it, you're not going to take away the life from the tree. The new leaves or twigs, they again rise from the same place. Miniature boughs. Miniature means very small. Boughs means branches. Very small branches, they start growing from there, which if unchecked will expand again. If you don't check it, if you don't check it means, see the purpose why the person jabbed it, because he wanted to cut the tree. Now if you just chop it and leave it, if you leave it unchecked, if you don't check it properly, then again life comes out from it. So if unchecked, it will expand again. It will again grow and it will grow back to its former size. The earlier huge big size that it was, it will again go back to that. So that is what is the meaning of this. Now coming to your question, difference between jab and hack. See, hack means to cut into small pieces. When you hack something is you cut something into small pieces, but you are very violent and rough. Right? And jab means just in one hit, if you, like in one force, if you hit something, that is called jab. I hope it is clear. These both words are used to cut, hit something. I hope these two stanzas are clear. Coming to the third one. No, the root. Now here, the poet says that if you feel that, okay, doing this much, only chopping it, a simple jab is enough, then let me tell you, no. That's what he said in the third stanza. No. The root is to be pulled out. If you are leaving it unchecked, then again life will grow back from it. So what you need? You need to pull out. What you have to pull out? You have to pull out the root. Now this is obvious. The life of a tree lies in its root, from where it draws all the nutrients. So if you want to actually kill a tree completely, then you have to pull it out from its root, out of the anchoring earth. Now, anchoring earth. Earth is described by the word anchoring. What does anchoring means? Anchoring means something that supports something. Now here, the tree is being supported in the lap of the earth. You can look at the meaning in the next page. Trees are held securely with the help of the roots in the earth. The trees are held firmly by the earth. Hence, earth is described as anchoring earth. It is to be roped, tied, and pulled out. Now, if you can't pull it out with your hand because the root is quite deep. Now, we are not talking about those small saplings or plants which are there in your garden. We are talking about a tree. Think about a huge banyan tree, okay? So if it's not possible, how will you pull it out? So what you have to do, you have to rope it. You have to take a rope, you have to tie it, and you have to pull it, snapped out, so that it completely comes out. That's what you have to do if you want to kill a tree. Absolutely. Right. Now look at this one. Something is mentioned over here. Snapped out. Snapped out means chopped out, completely killing something. Okay. Or pulled out entirely out from the earth cave. You have to pull it out completely from the earth cave. Now why earth cave? Now again here earth cave because it is just like a cave. It's a secure place for the trees to grow. Remember, what we see outside, much more is inside the earth. What we see outside of the tree, we can see a huge tree. But remember, the depth or the main, I can say, source lies below the earth. So the earth is just like a shelter. So the earth is a protective covering that provides all nutrients. So that's the reason it is called as an earth cave. So the tree has to be pulled out entirely from the earth cave, and the strength of the tree exposed. The strength of the tree is the roots. It has to be exposed means the root has to be pulled out and brought out of the earth, so that the roots are exposed. The strength of the trees are exposed. They come out of the ground. The source, white and wet. The source, white and wet, is talking about when you are pulling out the tree. When you are pulling out the tree along with the roots, you can see some substance come out. White and wet. And yes, the root is wet. It contains moisture because it is well protected under the earth. So it is wet, contains moisture. So that is what is described as white and wet. The most sensitive, hidden for years inside the earth. Now this part is most sensitive part of the tree. It is hidden for years inside the earth. It is hidden for years, and this is the main source of energy for the tree. The entire strength of the tree lies in these roots that has to be pulled out and exposed if you want to kill a tree. The last stanza, then the matter of scorching and choking. Now, do you think just pulling out the tree, exposing the root is enough to kill a tree? Then he said no. After that, scorching and choking, right? Scorching and choking means scorching is, we say scorching heat. When you feel very hot. So you need to do the scorching and choking in sun and air. It needs to get dried up also, right? Browning, hardening, twisting, withering, and then it is done. The root or the bark needs to get brown, they need to get hardened, they need to get twisted, withered, completely all nutrients and everything drawn away, completely dry, withered away, and then it is done. And finally, your work of killing, your job of killing a tree is successful. So here, the poet has given you a complete description what you need to do if you want to kill a tree. Not just a simple jab is enough. You have to pull the tree, you have to pull the roots out of it, and then you have to, if you cannot do that, you have to tie a rope, pull it, expose the roots, and then finally you have to leave it on the under the sun. You have to leave it so that it gets scorched, choked, it turns brown, hard, and it withers out completely, so that there's no chance of life growing back. As it's written, if you leave it just with one chop, one of its branches, then again another branch grows up, a miniature bough grows up, leaves grow up. So that is the reason. These are the process, these are the things that you need to do if you want to kill a tree completely. That's it. The poetry is all about this. But yes, there are a lot of more things to discuss. First of all, tell me if you have any doubts. This is actually, there is a, I would rather say it's a metaphorical meaning, Pushpa. Metaphorical meaning means here the purpose of the poet is to emphasize that how human beings are greedy and they are killing trees recklessly without giving a second thought. So just to emphasize that fact that we should not cut trees, such reckless behavior we have. Why are we cutting trees to build buildings? Why are we cutting trees because we want furniture? So for that, what are we doing? We think that, okay, it's a tree, nothing. We just cut it. No, it's not that. You are not just cutting a tree, you are just taking a life out of something. You are taking a life away. So in order to emphasize that, he has written on this. This is all, as I always say, poets. Poets have a deep thought. They don't think like the way you think. They see things in a different way, and they generally have, their writings are metaphorical. Metaphorical means it has some hidden message. So here this poem has got a hidden message that we should not cut tree. Cutting a tree is same as taking a life away or killing somebody. Yes, anything else? Ask me if you have any doubts. You can go through one by one. Somebody has texted, good afternoon, Genia Pine. Good afternoon, Genia. Good afternoon, Yesh. Yes, it is class 9. Okay. Any doubts? Anybody? In case you don't have any doubts, also you can text writing no, so that we can proceed. In case no doubts, you can type writing no. Okay, I have got 2 responses. What is the rhyming scheme of the poetry? Withering means, I think we read one chapter, withering storm of Edsama, ujad jana, something like that, getting damaged, destroyed. So that can be related with the word withering. What is the rhyming scheme of the poem? Anybody? Is it following any rhyming scheme? You can mark one thing. No, withering is that something that gets destroyed. Withering. To wither out, to destroy, to get damaged. Yes. I think this is Archita. Free verse. Now you can mark one thing over here. There is no, the stanzas are of not same length even. So they are not following any similar length. Even his first stanza is too lengthy, second stanza is a little small than that. See, over here, if you find out the meaning of withering, as I said, damaged, I'll give you an example. Suppose you keep something out. Let's say there is no rainfall for a couple of, let's say for 1 year. What happens to the plants and trees? They wither out. Sook jata hai. It completely dries out. There's no life left. So that case you can say wither. The better word in Hindi I would say murjha jana. Something that becomes lifeless can be said as withering. Yes, it is free verse because yes, first of all, it does not follow any rhyming scheme. Second thing, we can see that even the stanzas are not similar. Generally, poetries, they have each stanza maybe 4 lines or 6 lines, but here nothing like that. Even the stanzas, the length varies and it is a free verse. Okay, can you point out some poetic devices? Browning means something that gets brown. That's called browning. Now, what gets brown? If you keep, let's say, if you keep, even leaves, they turn brown when they dry up. That's called browning. Can you point out certain poetic devices here? Okay, I'll tell you. What is the poetic device in white and wet? The source white and wet. That's page 111. The source white and wet. Which poetic device is that? Yes, it's alliteration. W and W. Yes, it's alliteration. Now tell me one more thing. Leprous hide. Which poetic device is used? Leprous hide. Leprous hide. Which poetic device is it? Personification, leprous hide. It is a metaphor because here the height or the place where the tree sprouts out, the height is, yeah, it is compared with the browning or the discolored leprous. So that is the reason this is metaphor over here. It's metaphor. Okay, anything more to be done in this? Anybody? No? So we'll do one thing. We will again join after a few minutes with the next poetry, that is that snake trying. There's nothing much to discuss in this one. The poetry is over. And yes, one more thing. Yes, I just missed it out. One more thing is there is a constant repetition in the poetry. Can you point out what is the repetition in the poetry? What is being repeated again and again in the poetry? What is repeated again and again? Some words are repeated. Which words are they? Which words are repeated? If you can see in the third stanza, they have used the word pulled out so many times. And in the next stanza also, they have used the word pulled out. So again and again, they are saying, Padma Mahanti, okay. Yes, good afternoon, Padma. Okay, now see, here pulled out has been said again and again. Why? Because pulled out is, why the poet has used the particular phrase pulled out so many times, just to emphasize that just chopping is not enough. You have to use your force and pull it out. That is the reason why the poet has used the phrase pulled out so many times. It is a repetition. Okay, done. So we are again meeting after a few minutes. Okay, I'm about to end the session. Anything more you want to ask or you want to let me know? No? Shall I end it? Just give me a thumbs up, anyone. I'll end the session then. Okay, somebody has written yes. Okay. We are meeting after 5 minutes. Okay, bye-bye.